I've been very blunt in many ways when I drink. I've said hurtful things when I drink. Being sober has transformed my marriage. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's Jared again, and I am so incredibly happy, so blessed, so honored, so grateful. Anything you can think of in the positive aspect is what I feel today. I am over 6 months in this sober journey, and I just never would have thought that this was possible. I know I probably start every video very similarly, but it's true. Every step, every day that I get past, every milestone marker, which this is a big one, half a year in, wow. And I'm over that even. I'm actually a few days late because the whole reason I started this podcast, which by the way, we have a name for now, it's called Small Town Sober. And I guess what you're supposed to do is say like and follow us if you want to follow the journey further. And I can say very honestly now, where I don't think I could in the other couple videos, is that I am going to do this for a year and very likely beyond, because of the way I feel now. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine going back to the alcohol. I just can't. It just doesn't seem like something that makes sense for my life. I feel great. I'm happy. I'm healthier than I've been in probably 20 years. Actually, to that point, I went for my physical, and my cholesterol last time was off the charts bad. So I go this time, 100 points difference. And the only change I made was getting rid of alcohol. Maybe eating a little better too, but I took alcohol out of my life, and I went from almost being on medication for high cholesterol to not even a thought. So I guess, at least from a health aspect, for anyone who's listening that's concerned about their cholesterol, maybe factor that in. I really didn't think it would affect it at least that much, but it really was about a 100-point swing back in my favor. So excited about that. Obviously, great news. I would have done this on the anniversary date, which would have been April 1st, but we were supposed to go to Florida and to Disney World with the family, so our 4 kids. And as you may know, my wife was pregnant is the key word there, because the day before we were supposed to leave, her water broke. And we welcomed our baby early, our new baby boy. So 3 weeks early, so grateful for him. He's a big reason of why I started this journey, because I just want to be there for him. You know, I've got 4 kids and a 7-year break between the last one and this one. And that just kind of hit me. I'm not getting any younger. Although I will say, with this new change in my life, I do feel younger, and I'm so happy to be able to be in my child's life, God willing, even a little bit longer now that my health has made a turn. So very, very happy to have my baby. I will say too, one of the things I've noticed is drinking almost put a pause on my emotional maturity. I've been numbing things for, 25-ish years. And the reason I say that is when we had our new baby boy and they were setting him on my wife's chest after birth, I lost it. I crumbled in tears, and I have never had a reaction like that before. Obviously, every birth is emotional, but this time I was really feeling it, and I was there, and I don't know, the culmination of all this kind of just hit me at once, and it was beautiful. Even talking about it now, it just kind of chokes me up. I'm feeling more emotion than I've ever felt. Well, maybe I felt pre-drinking. I've always been an emotional guy, and I'm feeling those emotions again, which I'm not ashamed of. I'm not the kind of guy who won't cry in front of people. If I need to cry, I'm going to cry. But to feel those emotions again I feel human again. I can be human again. And so that's a beautiful gift that being sober has given me. Beautiful gift. So a couple things I want to touch on, and then I want to get on to the point of this particular podcast, which is I want to talk about relationships after giving up drinking. But first, I want to talk about a few things that I've noticed since the last time I took a video, and that is I actually get physically sick when I think of someone else who has drank and how they will feel the next day. So, for example, I get a text message from a buddy who says, I'm feeling like crap. I drank last night and I'm hungover this morning. I get physically sick for them. I have to separate myself from that feeling because I'm so used to feeling that way myself that it makes me feel so gross to consider that. And that's a good thing. It makes me just so much more further from wanting to take up alcohol ever again, because it just nauseates me thinking of someone else feeling that way. So I don't know if that's normal, but that's kind of where I'm at. And like I said, it's not a bad thing. Another thing I noticed is that NA beers, which I have grown quite fond of, Heineken 0.0 is awesome. It did the trick for me. I wanted, the taste of a beer. And so I would have that, a couple, 3, 4, maybe on a weekend, post giving up alcohol. And that was awesome. That was a nice way to transition into the sober life. But I will say now, 6 months after, I don't really even have I don't have any inkling to even want to open an NA on the weekends, which is just so far from what I would have expected for me. Now, it's April. As you can see, we're close to Easter. I don't know how I will feel when the summer sun starts pounding down and the lake starts looking good and the boat starts sounding great and, all of that. A beer will probably sound good then, and then the NA, we'll bring that back out. I can just say, in all honesty, it's not something right now that I need. I think I kind of needed it, quote unquote, early on, and I don't anymore. The want for alcohol is almost virtually non-existent, which again, that's a God thing. That's nothing but God removing that from me. There's no other way to explain it, because I never would have imagined that I'd be sitting here 6 months in and saying those words. Another thing I noticed right away, and I've watched a few other videos of other people who have gone through soberness after years of drinking, and one of the things they worry about, and I too do, because I'm a creative person at heart, is losing the creativity. I'm a musician in some regards, not the greatest by any means, but I do play guitar. I do sing out with my family. And man, I was concerned that I wouldn't be able to, come up with music anymore. And I don't do that a lot, but I do like to write. And I noticed for a little while, I felt like I just didn't have anything. The creative juices weren't flowing, because alcohol was something that, even though I am creative, it sparked, it helped me find things in my mind that maybe I wouldn't have come to on my own. I think. I don't know if that's true, but hey, I'm saying it. Anyhow, now, again, 6 months removed, I feel like I've got the creative side of me back. And in fact, when the baby came, I wrote a new song about the baby and about this experience, if I'm being honest. And it just felt good. I feel like I keep getting clearer and clearer in my mental faculties. I really do. I'm able to remember more, which is funny because I just talked to my friends about, I still have memory lapses, don't get me wrong, plenty of them, but I'm able to remember more and recover more that I had lost in some regard. And I don't struggle as much to put the words together that I really was having issues with back even a few months ago. So I'm very grateful for that. I think my brain is recovering, and maybe up to a year will recover or further. I don't know exactly the specifics on the medical side of that stuff, but hey, I can tell you what I feel, and I feel much more present and willing to engage. And oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah, so speaking to the music stuff, my family and I were very lucky. If anyone knows anything about 90s country, we were able to open up for Diamond Rio. We were the opening band for Diamond Rio, which is just phenomenal and such a blessing. And I was going to do it this time. This was at the end of February. I was going to do it sober. And playing music sober is something that just did not go hand in hand for me. And I didn't get drunk per se at all. I just took the edge off. I had a buzz and I would play music. Well, this time I went in completely sober, and it was one of the most magical moments of my life. I was able to take it in, remember it all as it was, and I brought my kids up on stage. Man, just beautiful, beautiful things that I would never have expected. All right. So that kind of brings you up to date on some of the new things I've noticed since the last 3 months, because I think my last video was about 99 days in. And so, yeah. Now let's talk about relationships. So that's what I wanted to focus on. I wanted to wait about 6 months to really get a good feel for that. Plain and simple, I don't know how relationships couldn't get better, at least to those who wish to be in your life. How could they not get better? You are now your true self. I am now my true self. Unless your true self sucks, which I suppose could be the case. I'm able to be me, and it feels good. And I think people can see a genuineness that maybe wasn't as obvious before, or maybe it wasn't there before. I've noticed that, even going out doing something and seeing other people that are drinking, stuff that didn't used to bother me because I was right there with them, I can see now why that bothers people. Man, it's annoying. People get annoying when they drink. And I had this illusion that I wasn't annoying, that I was just funnier. I was more easy to get along with. Cool is the wrong word because I've never been there, but I was someone that people enjoyed being around. And maybe that's true to a degree, but certainly alcohol didn't help that. It helped me think that, but I don't think it helped that. So I'm coming to that realization. And why I say that is relationships change. And let's start with the family. So I'm going to start with my wife. My wife and I have struggled for some years. She was never much of a drinker. I think I mentioned that before. I had no patience. It's truly something that I'm working on even to this day. As you can see, it kind of gets me emotional because I've been very blunt in many ways when I drink. I've said hurtful things when I drink. Very quick to flip the switch when I drink. So being sober has transformed my marriage. It has not gotten better. It has completely changed my marriage for the better in every way possible. So to anyone who's suffering silently, but knows that they need to change for their spouse, I got annoyed. I'm just being honest. I got annoyed with being told that I drink too much. To me, that was the last thing I wanted to give up. I'm a pretty good person, and I know that. So when I'm asked to give up the one thing that I just didn't want to give up, which was my vice, which kept me from my spiritual life even. It was a spiritual block for me, and I knew that. But I didn't want to give it up because I'm selfish. And selfish and manipulation they go hand in hand with someone who drinks like I did. So my relationship with my wife is 150,000 billion trillions, as my kid would say, quadruple, blah, 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 infinity and beyond better. We sit and chat with each other, and we have walks with each other, and we have great conversation together. And she enjoys me, and not just me during the week, me on the weekends too. So, sorry. It's beautiful, and I'm just very thankful that it's come this far. We were good, and now we're phenomenal. And then I want to talk about my kids. My kids love me endlessly, as most kids try to love their parents. And I've been a pretty darn good dad. I really have. But there were times when patience was my thing. I didn't have it. I didn't have it when I drank, or a few days post, because I was now dealing from the effects of drinking, and I was just irritable, and it was obvious. My son got to a point where he told me he didn't really even want to have friends over, which just killed me, and quite frankly made me mad at the time because I was still drinking. And I'm like, who are you to say that I'm, he didn't want to have friends over because he didn't want me to erupt in some way that was unpredictable, I think. And as of recent, he was with my wife in the car. This was probably a month and a half ago or so. And he said, Mom, I'm really excited for summer. And she said, oh, really? Why is that? She's like, well, we got Dad back. And I'm excited to have friends over. And talk about a humbling experience, or humbling words to hear. My son's 14. And I think in 4 years, he'll be graduating high school. And these will be the best 4 years of his life, because I decided to make a change. So I don't know how things can't get better. I don't know how they couldn't get better. I don't get it. I don't think that's true. I think it has to get better, because alcohol is a thief. It manipulates. It makes you selfish. It steals your life away, physically, mentally, emotionally. And I'm just grateful. The arguments that we used to have that could have escalated are few and far between. We're like every other family. There's going to be arguments. Plenty of personalities running around this household. So there's going to be arguments, and that's obvious, but they won't go to those spaces they went before. And I'm so very thankful for that. So relationships within the family, they can't get better. They could always get better, but right now I'm in heaven with where I am with my family and my kids, my wife. Everything is so good. It's almost unspeakable. All right. So friends, I've got a lot of friends. And I have a lot of friends that don't drink much, and those friends kind of helped me come to this, if I'm being honest too. My brother-in-law was a great resource in this. He doesn't really even probably know that, but he is, and I appreciate him so very much. And then one of my coworkers, who I've spoken about before, walked from the alcohol, which I was annoyed with because I liked drinking with him. But he did that, and he helped me see that it was worthwhile. And so I'm very thankful for him. But those relationships have remained great, and I would say only have gotten better, because again, I'm my true self now, and I can be myself confidently. And how can that not better a situation? It does. It only betters things. So that's been good. The question comes into, what about your drinking buddies? What about your good old boys? And I have certainly my group of friends, and quite frankly, they were my group of friends since high school. They've been a solid group of friends. And I see people that have been sober get on here and say, I'm not like that anymore, blah, 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 blah. Let me say this. I choose my friends because they have good hearts. I choose my friends because they'd come to do anything for me. They'd help in any way they can. They'd help me, my wife, my kids. And that's how I chose my friends. Now, the drinking came along with that. And we've been drinking buddies for years. And so I'll say this isn't anything against them. This isn't me better than them. I'm not better than them. In fact, sometimes I wish I could hold my alcohol like them. But that's neither here nor there. I needed to make this change for myself. What I would say is, just like anything, if you have a group of friends that you have golfing in common with, bowling in common with, cards in common with, hunting, fishing, whatever you do with that group of friends, and then you choose to walk from that common element, well, then what would you expect in those situations? You would expect that you wouldn't see them as much. And if there is something lingering that you have in common, sure. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be times when you get together over those things. So I would say this. I still am friends with those very people, and I love them dearly. I see them less, and I don't think they're surprised by it at all. I think they understand. I think they know where I'm at. In fact, I just texted one this week, or he texted me, I should say, asked if I'm still, sober. I said, yeah, I'm 196 days in, as a matter of fact. And he said, I'm really proud of you, man. And that means a lot to me. But that's the kind of friends I choose anyway. Even though they were my drinking buddies, there's more to them than just that. It's just that I'm going to see them less if drinking is the main reason we're getting together, bottom line. So I wouldn't say those relationships have been tarnished. I would say those relationships are just as healthy, just as, I don't know if healthy is the right word, because I think what I brought to the table was unhealthy. But what I'm trying to say is I don't think those were hurt necessarily by my choice to become sober. It's just we see each other less because that one thing that we had in common isn't something that I share anymore. Plain and simple. So that's that. Friendships, what I hear often is true friends will stick around. True friends will be there, and you'll find out who your true friends are. Well, I don't have to worry about my friends. They are true friends. The drinking part of it is gone. Okay, that's it. And I don't wish for them necessarily to quit drinking if they don't want to, because I don't see any of them as having my problems that I brought to my family and my friends. I don't see that. If I could hold my drinks better, maybe I wouldn't be here talking to you. But this is my life story, and I'm happy to have lived it. And I just don't question things once I've come to a new realization about myself. I don't question it. It's my path, and I believe very wholeheartedly that God has me on the path He has me on. And when it sucks, it sucks. But I take that up. I take it on the cross, and I offer it up for the greater good. And that's where I'm at. I'm very happy He's got me here. Other relationships that I've noticed, well, first and foremost, I can talk to people easier, which is shocking to me, because alcohol is one of the reasons I got into drinking was because of my social anxiety, which I still have. And anyone who knows me well knows that, because they see me shaking whenever we're in social situations, and my legs twitching. And that's just me. I've owned it. But I will say I am more comfortable in social situations not drinking than I thought I would have been. I've been drinking for 25-ish years. So for 25-ish years, I have allowed myself to numb or use the social juice to allow myself to enter conversation that I wouldn't have otherwise entered. Well, now that's gone, and now I'm 43, so I'm older. I'm more mature. I'm not trying to impress people like you do when you're young. None of that matters to me anymore. I'm comfortable in my own skin, but more comfortable now sober than ever before, and still working on that. But I'm surprised at how well I can carry on a conversation now with people that I struggled with before. And I think it's because I'm authentic again. I'm me again. I'm not hungover, and I'm not feeling lightheaded, and I'm not feeling all this anxiety that's just crippling me days after a drinking episode. So relationships in general all around me have gotten better. There's just no way around that. They've gotten better. I am a business owner, and clients can be frustrating sometimes. Anybody who's a business owner knows what I'm talking about. In a business, you're taught that the client is always right. Well, we know as business owners that the client isn't always right, but we treat it as such, right? So that can get very, very, very frustrating sometimes. And I recently had a client that was really frustrated about an issue that, quite frankly, he brought on himself. But I called him up. I talked through it. I never got even close to feeling the anxiety and frustration that I felt when I was on edge and I had that anxiety from drinking in my pit, in my gut, that would promote volatile responses to something like that. I didn't feel any of that. And I got off the phone and my wife said to me, "Did you just hear yourself? Did you just hear how you handled that situation? How you went in there not stressed out to begin with?" I would have started that call like, ugh. And I went into it calm. I spoke to him calm. We resolved it calmly. And we moved on. And it was beautiful. There's not a lot of clients that would have seen a volatile side of me. Most didn't, because I just numbed it. I pushed it down, way down, and I wouldn't let it come out, but it was there. And this time it wasn't even there. It wasn't even trying to come out. It was just the emotional maturity is growing. And I think I'm behind where I need to be, but it's growing and it's becoming a big factor in how I communicate with people. And the things that bothered me before aren't bothering me now, or at least not nearly as much. Relationships are better. Relationships are great. It's beautiful. There's just, I tend to look at it, again, a little more spiritually than some. I do think the devil lives in that bottle. And most people, I don't know if it's most, but many people don't have to worry about it because they have the restraint, the ability to drink one, maybe two. I didn't. And once you get to pursuing alcohol for the buzz, for the drunk, the devil takes over. That's how I feel. And the devil took over in my life. And now he's done. He's out. I'm really excited for Easter, which is this Sunday, for that reason. It's gonna be a new experience for me. I can't tell you how many times I've been to church buzzed. Not so much on a Sunday morning, but Christmas, getting a family party together and then going to church. Yeah, it's something I don't have to worry about anymore. And I knew it was wrong, and now it's not in my life. So, all right, I'm getting off here on a tangent. I want to thank you so much for listening again today. 6 months in, going strong. 200 days is only a couple days away. Oh, man, I'm so excited. And a year is coming up. I'm going to touch base again in the future. I'm thinking about getting my wife in here to do somewhat of an interview as to her experience with this process. But certainly I'm going to touch on some more things that I've come to notice in the next video. And at a year mark, I'll put these videos out there. I wasn't sure if I'd even make it there, but now I know I will. It's crazy. Like, there's no question in my mind. And so these videos will get out there. Small Town Sober, look us up. I'll have a Facebook page. I'm hoping to get out to speak to people. I don't know how that'll look. I'd love to talk to people in churches and talk to their youth, because I tell you, alcohol is a great way to transition into porn. It's a great way to minimize relationships. It's a great way to abuse people. And you remove alcohol, remove porn, you remove all that from your life. It helps you become a better person and closer to God, and that's what I would want for anyone. So I'm very hopeful that I can get out and speak to people at some point and kind of share my story, because this if I can help one person, if one person listening to this today is where I was, please understand. You, first of all, you're not alone. There's so many more people out there that would love to know that someone is feeling how they're feeling. I would say many people struggle with drinking. It's not just you, and so many of them struggle with it in private, like I did. So just don't feel alone. And if I can ever get out to speak to that, I absolutely will. But thanks again for watching today. I appreciate it so very much. We'll catch you again soon. Take care. I appreciate it.